All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the 14th. Wait, that's not right. The 13th Filecoin Core Devs Biweekly meeting. Today is Thursday, the 11th of March. Thank you all for being here. Our agenda for the day, we'll go through updates from the various teams, and then I've put some small questions already in the chat to discuss. Stuff around whether we want an Interop Net and the first steps towards planning the next network upgrade, when it should be, and so on. And we'll have some open discussion at the end. We might want to discuss FIP 14 as well. But we'll start off with updates. Maybe let's hear from Filecoin first.
Thank you, Ayush. Hi, everyone. So during the last 2 weeks, we were mainly focusing on reliability testing of our solution. So as of now, we have discovered a couple of issues, resolved them. Now we have prepared the testing scenarios for the reliability testing, and now we're in the process of properly documenting them in order to pass the future reliability testing after some upgrades will be introduced to our QA team. During last week, we have also made an experiment about improving the performance of restoring from the snapshot. So significant improvements were introduced. So on macOS file system, the improvement was about 40 times faster than priorly. So prior to the update, the snapshot has restored in about 40 minutes, 40 plus minutes, and now it takes a little bit less than a minute to restore from the snapshot. So it's a pretty significant improvement to the performance of the snapshot restoring. We have also, I have mentioned on the previous meetings that we have been working on the improvements for the future support of actors upgrades, which in our case was introducing an ability for actors to be, proper polymorphism for the actors. Finally, we have finished with this refactoring, and we are going to test it with migration from actors v2 to actors v3 somewhere, I think maybe on the next meeting. I will report on that. So we are aiming to start implementing actors v3 in 2 to 3 weeks from this meeting. So I think that's the major updates as of now. So as the network has upgraded last week, we have not yet incorporated needed changes in order to start the network with actors v3, and we are going to introduce all the changes needed for data structures involved, namely amt and hamt, next week. And we are aiming to have our node running by the end of the month on the mainnet with actors v3.
Nice, very nice. End of the month is not far away. A couple of questions. Well, first off, a note. I think doing that large refactor to support actor polymorphism is a really good idea, and will definitely, like, it was a one-time thing that needed to be done. And I think you'll benefit from that moving forward, which is great. How did you improve the performance of snapshot restoration so quickly? Like, what did you actually change to go from 40 seconds to a second?
Yeah, so we have previously we have used a level DB for storing. Well, basically we've been importing all the data from the snapshot, copying it from the car file to the database directly. And now we are building, not copying the data, we are just building an index of car file and using pure file system and not using the database to store all the data from the snapshot. So these are the changes that improved our performance in the snapshot.
Anyone else have any questions for Maxim? Cool. Venus, what's up with y'all?
Sorry, I'm just muted. Okay, yeah, thanks Ayush, and hello everyone. In last 2 weeks, I think the first the very first thing is that we delivered version 091 to adapt this big actors version 3.2, and we also upgraded to support network version 10, and upgraded the node running on the mainnet before the network version 10 take effect. So yeah, successfully, I think that is very good, and the node is running very well currently. And another thing is that we actually started the security audit from a few days ago. I think it's March 8th. And the plan is to have the initial audit report by April 22nd. We hope that will go very smoothly. There must be some questions and issues back and forth, but we hope that could go smoothly. Okay. And I would think another big thing is that we are still on the way to develop distributed mining pool. And there are a few components we are working on right now. For example, we have the Venus wallet module to support secure key store, and to support the security policy and configuration for each address. So that if you configure an address or import address, you can configure the security policy for it. For example, if you have one controller address to only for the pull rip messages, you can configure for that. So you cannot use that address to send any other messages. Another one is the Venus miner module, which will support multiple miners to generate blocks in one service. So that's what we mean, that we support the mining pool, which means that we have one service to support multiple miners. And also we have the Venus message module to support the advanced message selection and the nonce management. And also we could, once you have a chance to generate multiple blocks, and we could have each block to pack different messages, so that you could maximize the efficiency, and you could have the maximum messages in your blocks. So there this is what we are working on. It's still on the way. I think we will take perhaps for a few weeks or 1 or 2 months to complete all of this, and to do the integration test among this, and to complete this work. I think that's all. Any question?
Cool. Congratulations. That was the first Filecoin network upgrade that multiple implementations went over the epoch together. So thank you and good job, Venus. Cool. Hunter, are you here provide a chain safe update?
Yeah, I can do that. I guess it's fallen to me now because a couple of our team members are out. So pardon if I'm a little, this is my first time. So, all right. Our Actors v3 upgrade worked well enough, but the lack of conformance tests, sorry, there's I don't know if you can hear, there's a garbage machine outside. Anyway, hopefully you can hear me over that. But it worked well enough, but the lack of conformance tests resulted in a bit of a fire drill on our end over the weekend. In the future, before we do any hard forks, I would kind of recommend having conformance tests available, and updated, because that's kind of rough. Also, yeah, we looks like we have we're working towards the audit that so we're Forest is about to be audited soon, within about a month or two, and so we're trying to like button up a few loose ends with networking stuff and RPC logic, and of course the V3 upgrade was a big piece. The state migration framework that we use is there's some, it's not well parallelized, so we're even though it's the logic is rarely needed, but we're kind of working on an issue in the back burner for that. Also, we're also investigating ways to parallelize HAMT and AMT, or just IPLD parsing logic in general. I think that Rust gives us a few atomic primitives we can work with there. Then so yeah, just productionizing overall is our major focus for this time. Also, a couple of things we noticed with Lotus was one second. Right. So we did notice a consensus fault on the network in the actors. There was like there was an instance where somebody got slashed like almost $5,000 worth of fill. I'm not sure what that was all about, but I was kind of curious about that. Also, we also noticed that there's a few cases where in the actors in Lotus that they weren't returning state when reporting consensus faults, and that might result in inefficient gas usage. But obviously, any changes in that would result in a hard fork. So maybe just some thoughts in the future. So that's all I got.
Cool.
Questions or any comments on any of that?
Yeah, first off, regarding the last thing you mentioned, sounds like open and issue inspect factors. Like I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not familiar with that stuff, but that's we can certainly look into anything you think doesn't make sense. What was the fire that certainly agreed that we should have conformance tests? How did the lack of those bite you this time? What was the fire?
Well, so we what happened was we adjusted the logic. We included the logic for the V3 actors, but what unfortunately, it was just, you can never really test this until we actually, I mean, you can kind of maybe test it on mainnet if you have some integration test harnesses that we don't currently yet have. But the problem is we forgot to kind of use them, like pull them in for the after the certain block, the epoch. So it was just an oversight on our end, and it's just not always obvious what, your code will compile, but you don't really know that. We had the code there, we just weren't calling it, and so that sort of thing would have been blatantly obvious had we had actual conformance tests.
Got it. Yeah. So again, agreed on the conformance test. The public test network / any test network that we have is also a good way to catch this kind of thing.
Yeah, we're also not sure. Is that up and running yet?
Calibration Net is up and running, and that's just a public test network that various miners are testing on, but we still put all of our upgrades on it.
Okay, that's good to know, because there was a little period there where we were kind of unclear if it was actually something we could start using for testing.
Yeah, no, it is up and running now. Updates posted in PhilNet calibration announce, I think, in the public Filecoin Slack. And there's some dashboards and stats.
Yeah, that would have been a perfectly good substitute. We just either way, I think either way, I think it would be nice to have just either one of those, on the next fork. I think we probably could have planned a little bit better on in the next fork, just having more testing in general. So as usual, that's just about any project so complex as this one. So
yeah, agreed. And like there's definitely some growing pains here where I think Lotus has kind of gotten used to doing a lot of it alone. And that's not going to work anymore. And we don't want that to work anymore. We want to be forced to have to do all of those things that we should be doing. So we'll fall in place.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Does anyone else have questions for Hunter? Cool. All right, quick Lotus update. Yeah, so definitely an exciting time over the past couple of weeks. Kind of the big thing was, yeah, the Filecoin, we're now upgraded to network version 10. So we've pulled in actors v3, we pulled in the FIPS that optimize the Hampton AMT, and we have optimistic window posts now live on Filecoin mainnet, which is pretty great. It saved a decent amount of chain bandwidth for it. We've had about, I didn't check earlier today, but we've had about 25 posts disputed so far. And at least a good chunk of those were the result of an edge case in Lotus window post computation, where we were not resistant to a particular kind of reorg. And so we kind of realized that that was going on when a whole bunch of miners got disputed in the same short window. Since fixed that in Lotus 151. That's an FYI. It should not affect your implementations unless you have the same problem. But that was something that affected a few people on the network. Apart from that, yeah, a lot of Lotus work has been towards performance and improving the deal-making process. One kind of exciting thing is that we've shipped our split store, which is an experimental feature that essentially segregates our data store into a hot store and cold store. So that's live in 151, but it is disabled by default. And so we kind of want people to experiment with it, give us some reports, tune it a bit before we make it the norm. But we are excited that it will solve a lot of our performance issues and will generally improve block validation time because I think the database was proving to be a bottleneck for a lot of that. So that's something that's out in our latest release. Yeah, does anyone else have updates from I guess PL folks or actors folks that they'd like to share? Cool, sounds good. Any questions? Sounds good. Next up, we'll hear from the foundation if they have updates they'd like to share. Right, maybe?
No updates from our side. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, there I was away, taking a step away from the laptop. Yeah, no updates here.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just didn't want to skip over y'all. Cool. So yeah, there's a few things I wanted to discuss, and we have a bit of time for it, which is good. First off, Interop Net. So this is something that we talked about kind of at the start of the year. There was an ask for it. We attempted to move on it, kind of ran into some Lotus side bugs really, or some proofs bugs and so on that was causing the networks to fail. And so it never went anywhere. By this point, we've fixed those bugs. We're able to like launch new networks again. So I was kind of wondering whether there's demand for an Interop Net, where how this would be different than our public test network is it would be kind of only for the core implementers. It would probably support 512 megabyte sectors, where our public test network only supports 32 and 64 gigabyte sectors. And in general, there'd be a bit of a focus on testing interoperability between our various implementations without having to worry about affecting other people that are testing on it. So yeah, kind of we can do that if people want it. I just wanted to poll and see whether it would still be useful.
Yeah, it definitely will be useful for at least our implementation to have something like that. So I'm totally agree to contribute whatever we can to help to establish this net.
Got it. Yeah, being a chain safety, you folks generally think it would be worth having?
Yeah, if we have the interoperability testing network, what's the difference between the calibration and interoperability?
Yeah, so a couple points of distinction. We'd probably allow for smaller sector sizes, where calibration is only 32 and 64. Also, there's just less, like it would be only for the 4 implementers, basically. So we wouldn't have to worry about, providing faucet funds to all the miners, or if we wanted to quickly reset the network, it would only be these 4 teams that would have to be affected, and we wouldn't worry about like accountability to anyone else. So it's kind of like a private test network that we can do whatever we want with.
Yeah, that is good, I think. Yeah, especially for any network version upgrading. Yeah, we may need to try it again and again, right? So yeah, currently in calibration, you just have one chance to do that, right? Yeah, but in this network, you can have perhaps a few times to do the upgrading. If you found anything, you can fix it and do it again.
I think that's kind of the motivation. Yeah. Okay, cool. I will relay that to the team. We can probably make it happen. Without too much effort by this point. We've ironed out all of the problems with starting up networks. Cool. Now for a somewhat larger scope discussion. The next network upgrade, we should probably start talking about it. So I guess from my perspective, so the big thing that we know that will be in it, or that we want in it, is FIP 13, which is aggregating proof commits. We've discussed that FIP over here already. Work is, at least on our side, is kind of going along. The proofs work is almost done. And so now it's like actors and Lotus side work to make it happen. This is something that is pretty like an objective good for the network. We know that a lot of miners are kind of eagerly waiting for it. So we'd like to get it out sooner rather than later. Having said that, we're going to take our time to test it and so on. And I also want to be mindful of the other implementations that we'll have to, now, because this will involve a new version of actors. So we're talking V4 actors in order to land this. I believe Eric from ChainSafe, who's unfortunately not here, had some concerns about that timeline because we kind of just had V3. Yeah, what are people's thoughts broadly? You rethink a couple months from now is reasonable, perhaps?
Okay, a couple of months. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I think that will be better to have that sooner than later, and it's because the cost currently the base fee is very high, and actually we have the base fee to control the power growth rate, right? Because the base fee is here. No matter how many people want to enter the network, actually is base fee limited the growth rate. If we have that built in, and perhaps we could have a better view of the how hard this network is.
One thing that I would want to mention is that Forest is within the next couple months going through a security audit, and any major changes to the code base will complicate the audit, and so just something to consider.
Valid point. It's just there's always going to be major changes to code bases, right? So I don't know, and this is kind of what I want to talk about. Is I don't know how we can best freeze things for a little while for that kind of thing, or if we just have to accept that this will always be a moving thing, and you potentially have multiple phases of audits or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it should hold up progress, obviously, but just our own project. It's just something to be aware of. It will probably if the timing's less than ideal, then it could result in kind of increased costs, I guess.
Yep, got it.
Yeah.
Maxim, do you have any thoughts?
I think MIT, and as you mentioned, there are always going to be some dramatic changes that we'll have to keep up. I think as development teams, we just have to make sure we have prepared for all these changes. And well, it is obvious that we need to be able to support the pace of changes on the mainnet, as they are dramatic and as they are important for the network health. So we don't have much.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, so I think, yeah, Stephen, I definitely agree with kind of what you said, where we would like the bottleneck for onboarding storage to be the availability of storage, where right now it is definitely the base fee. And that's just because, yeah, and then so making those operations significantly cheaper is kind of what we really like. So we definitely want to get this out ASAP. Yeah, any other thoughts on the timeline around this? I know Nicola, Wyatt, if you all have thoughts as well. Steb.
Actually, I have another question about this. Could we have kind of fixed pace for the upgrading? For example, we have a kind of plan for every 2 months to have a version of the network, and so that all the miners or the community can prepare for that. So yes, the pace of that maybe. But I think that will be very hard, is because we don't know what will happen. But perhaps we could have a better planning,
right,
to do this kind of thing. So
yeah, I think that's a really good idea, and Zengrand +1s that as well. I think that will probably work really well. I think 2 to 3 months will probably be the right cadence. And yeah, having that skeleton already in place improves planning. It also improves like transparency and visibility for the broader community, where they can know when to expect the next big change or the next mandatory upgrade or that kind of thing. So I think that's a good idea. We can probably sketch that out for the upcoming release. Be like, this is our target date, and put in like placeholders for a release in Q3 and Q4 of 2021 as well. I think that's a good idea. Let's make it.
I also want to note that the clock here starts when everything has been designed and we've decided on what we're actually going to include, because that's when like all the implementations will need to make sure they're all on the same page, and that's when all the testing will start.
Cool. Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Yeah, I think we'll probably aim for our next network upgrade around the upgrade itself to be around the first week of June then, and we'll see how timelines evolve. I'm sure there will be things changing, but maybe that can kind of be our goal for now. Cool. The last thing I wanted to discuss is FIP14. I think we do have time for it. So this is again more of the conversation around extending V1 sectors. We've talked about this a couple times in these meetings so far. I think it was kind of flagged that this is both a security/implementation decision and a governance decision. So it's a little bit of a gray area. I think probably it's safe to say from a security perspective, we are okay with the proposal in FIP14, which is this specific proposal is to allow V1 sectors to be extended, but only to a maximum of 540 days, 1.5 years, which kind of solves the problem where some people seal these with shorter lifetimes, thinking they would be able to extend them, and others seal them with the maximum initial lifetime, which is 1.5 years. So yeah, Stephen, I was curious. I know that you've kind of been like leading a lot of the efforts and like collecting information from the community about this. I was wondering if you have an update. What do you think of the FIP itself?
Yeah, I would say based on the data we gathered, I would think that actually I heard I discussed with some miners in different area or or communities, and or at least most miners support this because of two reasons. Okay, the one thing is that is because more than half of the sectors are set to 500 and 40 days and already. So if we limit that, there is almost no security concern. And second thing, is that the people want to have the fair play. Because this change would disable the extension of the version 1. Sectors is almost silently. So people actually set the expiration is before that. So once people know that, perhaps the expiration will be set and totally differently. So just give some fairness to people who want to do some compromise on all this. And this is what I'm thinking, and I discussed with people, and actually everyone I discussed, they agree with this. I know that there are some objections from discussing online. I would think that we need to make a decision very soon, is because if we just delay this, and that will make nonsense actually. If we just delay this.
Agree that we do need to make a decision soon, and thank you for trying to gather some of that input. I think I agree with the fairness point, where people would have made different decisions if they had known about the change coming, which I think is valid. Nicola/Irene, from a security perspective, are we comfortable with allowing an extension to 540 days?
So this is something that I don't think I can answer right now on the spot. It's something that we will have to, if the proposal is, we will have to look down at the details of the proposal. So I didn't understand this. Is this proposal written down and complete and ready for internal review?
Yes, it is. The thing that's missing is the security consideration aspect of it, which requires a good amount of context to properly assess it.
Right. So this one. There is a team right now is working on several things, and it's focusing like 99% on IPP and new POREP. So this one is a little bit low priority. So maybe my request for this team is, what would be the priority to get a proper research review? What is the timeline on when we want to know this by?
That's a good question. So the immediate answer, or like the timeline, kind of gets defined by, we would definitely want this, any change that we make here, to go into the next network upgrade, because if not, we're waiting too long and the point becomes moot, or increasingly becomes moot, which we're saying we want in a couple months. So obviously implementation needs time to act, implementations need time to act on whatever decision is made. So potentially we should probably be making a decision in the next week to 2 weeks, which requires input from the security perspective, and kind of a final answer from the community on what we want.
Okay, let's say that in 2 weeks' time we can try to give a high level, like a security analysis of what we think it could work. That there is some things come with a risk. So for example, it does seem like that we can extend some of these sectors. Mm-hmm. We can extend them, and there are multiple ways to do this. Let me speak in high level. One way is that we extend all the sector, and we take the risk that some of them may be broken, or that. So that's risk number one. The other one is that we take all the sectors, but we discount them, so their power now counts a little bit less. The alternative is that they can only be extended for a little bit, but not forever. So maybe we only allow one more extension.
Yeah, and that last option is what is proposed in FIP 14.
Yes.
Yeah.
I understand.
Good. Okay, sounds good.
Hey, could I interject quickly? I think that, so my understanding was that we would have to move quicker with FIP 14 than the next scheduled upgrade, which would be okay because it's not state breaking. And the reason that I understood this was because many of these sectors would be expiring earlier than, say, 2 months. So like my understanding was that many of these V1 sectors that we're trying to allow to extend would be expiring in 3 weeks, 1 month. Is that correct, or? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that okay. Yeah, from the data I gathered, I would say there are two humps. One is in the perhaps in the mid of April. The first bunch of expiration will be in April, very soon, maybe in 3 weeks or 4. So we need to make this decision very soon. And also, based on the proposal, I would think that the change is not big. Actually, it's a very small change. So I would think it may not take much time for the review. But this what depends on the reviewer and also the security and assessment. But basically, from the proposal, the change is that is very straightforward.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment, that it's small enough to be able to land before the next major upgrade. I think that changes the way that at least I'm thinking about the priority in terms of evaluating the security of FIP 14. Given this, like if this is the timeline that we're going with, it seems to me that this would be the highest. This would be higher priority than FIP 13, or somewhere on the same level, since the FIP 13 things would be planning to land later than this.
Yeah, great.
So maybe the question, and again, Stephen, I think you're the best person to answer here, is there would we essentially not have to, but would there be a big difference between, how big is the difference between between making this change if we were to make it in the first 2 weeks of April versus in the first 2 weeks of June?
We absolutely, it should, if we can, it should be the first week of April.
Okay, got it. We might need to look at the data again to confirm that. Nikolai, in that case,
So let me tell you, we can try to reschedule our internal schedule. Highly unlikely that we can spend time next week working on this. Mostly because we have free schedule to have an intense research week on POREP.
Sure.
And so what we could do, we could start looking into some of this, maybe prioritize it for tomorrow. But I think realistically, next week is not going to be the weekend. I mean, we can try to reprioritize internally, but even if we were to, I don't think the next week we will have any answer. It will be in a 2 weeks time.
Got it. Okay. Well, at the very least, we can start parallelizing here, where we can get community input and try to make a decision from the community side pending a final decision from the security side, and then have things ready to roll out. From the broader implementation perspective, how do we feel about another network upgrade? Very small one. It'll basically just be an actor's bump with this one change in less than a month's time is what we're discussing.
It is okay for us as a full implementation, as it will not majorly affect our current job. So,
Okay.
Do you think we could get the scheduling that Stephen suggested in practice by that point?
kind of yes and no. We can certainly put that skeleton in place, but this would be an exception to that, where if that skeleton is talking about releases every 2 to 3 months, this would be a one-off thing in that picture.
Okay.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I think that in an ideal world where we do have a schedule where we're releasing big upgrades every 2 or 3 months, there still are going to be situations like this where there are oversights from the past or security issues which will require quick mobilization to release things before the next major one.
Okay, in that case, then sooner rather than later would be best for us.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think the other kind of big unanswered question is how we finally say that this is what the community wants. I think based on the discussion in the FIP issue, I think that was issue 56. It does seem that there's certainly arguments on both sides between members of the community. So we need some way of saying that this is where the consensus is. But that does seem to be with adopting FIP 14 right now. Maybe that polling tool that we discussed a couple of weeks ago will be a candidate for how we make that decision. If not, we just keep asking for input and just say that this is where we think we see the majority opinion. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that we can certainly I'm glad we kind of built the momentum for this a little bit, because I do agree, Stephen, we've just kind of been debating, and so keeping that momentum will be useful. And we'll see. I think the network upgrade within a few weeks is certainly doable, given that it's very small and everyone's integration should be painless. Any other questions or opinions on this topic or any other topic? Because
I just want to mention that split block store, the split store. I was looking at that the other day, Baghdad.ds. That was actually really inspired. I just want to say that's pretty cool, because I mean, like, one thing we've noticed with our databases, our embedded databases, RuxDB and all that, is they slow down over time as records are inserted, as the database size grows. And I mean, that's usually okay, but that said, as the blockchain grows and as you leave it on for longer, you'll want to decouple some of that. And given that blocks come every minute or so, and you can kind of offload some of that on the back end and do a little bit of swapping across disks or whatever. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's something that we've had kind of in the works for a while, because it was pretty evident how the problem of the Filecoin data store grows really quickly because our state is massive. So it's good to finally be in a place where we're shipping that, and I would be curious to see if other implementations wind up doing that, or something different but equally innovative potentially.
Yeah, it sounds like something that you generally see with LSM tree stores with the tiered storage. But or at least like something more manually configured, but it's cool, and I think we should probably try doing similar in Forest once we are in a more production ready state. So just saying, admiring the work.
Appreciate it, and I will convey it to the folks that kind of designed and implemented it.
One last thing from me, mostly for Maxim. I know we've been talking about scheduling a time to meet with Eric, as well as some members of your team, to go over just pain points in implementing actors changes and how Specs actors can improve the state of pushing changes to other implementations. I was wondering, has your team thought about any times which work well? Next week would work good for me, and I think good for Eric. We could do as early as tomorrow, but no pressure. I don't think it's super time sensitive.
Yeah, I think beginning of the next week will be more suitable for us also. I would like to also participate, and unfortunately I will not be able to do so tomorrow. So the next week sounds more suitable.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll tentatively say somewhere between noon and 8 p.m. UTC on Tuesday, but I'll make sure to do this in Slack to make sure that Eric knows too.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion. Sounds good. Yeah, we can wrap up here then. I think we'll probably be in somewhat close touch regarding FIP14 and another network upgrade coming somewhat soon. So we'll have those conversations in Fill Implementers and on the FIP repo. All right, thank you very much, everyone. I think we're doing great work here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Hayes.
Yeah.
Understand.